What would you do if a simple warning from a janitor changed the fate of a billionaire in seconds? Night had fallen over the glowing glass tower of Carter Enterprises. The last employees hurried out under the soft drizzle, their heels and shoes echoing across the empty marble lobby. Samuel Brooks pushed his mop quietly, his old sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. To everyone, he was invisible, just the janitor. But Samuel had learned to see what others didn't. His eyes always watched. His instincts never lied. As he looked through the lobby window, he noticed William Carter, the billionaire himself, walking toward his black Rolls-Royce in the underground parking lot. The man was talking on the phone, laughing carelessly, holding his keys in one hand. But Samuel's eyes froze. Under the car's rear bumper, just near the back tire, something flickered. A small red light. It blinked twice, then went still. His stomach dropped. He knew that look. He'd seen it once long ago when he worked near a military base. Without thinking, Samuel dropped his mop and ran for the elevator. He reached the basement just as William reached the car door. Samuel's voice tore through the air. "Sir, don't get in that car." His shout echoed like thunder. William turned, shocked, his hand still gripping the handle. For a moment, silence fell. The drizzle outside turned heavier. Then William frowned. "What did you just say?" he barked, irritated. Samuel pointed to the car, breathless. "There's something wrong. Step away." William hesitated, clearly offended that a janitor was yelling at him. "You're out of line," he snapped. But before he could open the door, Samuel rushed forward, shoving him aside just as a low hum filled the air. A second later, boom, the explosion ripped through the parking lot. The luxury car burst into flames. The shockwave knocked them both to the ground. Smoke and fire filled the air. When the noise settled, William looked at the burning wreck in disbelief. His face turned pale. He had been seconds from death. Samuel coughed, lying on the floor, face covered in soot, breathing hard. William stared at him, speechless. For the first time in his life, the billionaire didn't see a janitor. He saw the man who had just saved his life. If you felt the tension in this chapter, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because the real truth behind that explosion, and who planned it, will shock you even more in Chapter 2. Smoke still curled above the wrecked Rolls-Royce as flashing blue lights painted the underground parking lot. The air reeked of burnt metal and gasoline. William Carter sat on the ground, trembling, his designer suit smudged with ash. Beside him stood Samuel Brooks, quiet, covered in soot, his hands shaking slightly but his eyes steady. He had saved a man's life, yet the way the police looked at him said something else. Officer Harris arrived, tall and stiff, his flashlight slicing through the smoke. "Step back, sir," he said sharply to Samuel. "We'll take it from here." William opened his mouth to speak, but shock stole his words. Samuel tried to explain, his voice low but calm. "There was a blinking light under the car. I saw it. I warned him." Harris squinted at him. "And how did you know that, janitor?" The word fell like a slap. Samuel hesitated. "I just knew something was wrong." Harris crossed his arms. "You just knew? That's convenient." He turned to William. "Sir, is this man an employee of yours?" William nodded slowly. He works nights, keeps the place clean." Harris's tone sharpened. "Then how did he get down here so fast? How did he know your car would explode?" Samuel looked down, trying to stay composed. "Because I was doing my job, because I saw it." But Harris wasn't listening. He was looking for guilt, not truth. Two more officers whispered nearby, glancing at Samuel with suspicion. William stood now, his voice unsteady. "You think he planted it?" Harris shrugged. "We'll find out soon enough." Samuel's chest tightened. The man he saved was now watching him with doubt in his eyes. The fire hissed behind them, reflecting on William's face as he whispered, "Why would anyone target me?" Samuel's voice softened. "Sometimes, sir, the people closest to us hide the darkest motives." Harris sneered. "Save the philosophy, Brooks. You're coming with us until we get answers." As the officer grabbed his arm, William took a small step forward, not enough to stop it, just enough to ease his conscience. The janitor who saved his life was now being dragged away in handcuffs. As Samuel looked back, their eyes met for a fleeting second, one full of pain, the other full of guilt. And neither of them knew that upstairs, in the quiet of a penthouse suite, Victoria Carter was staring at her phone, deleting a message that read, "It's done." This twist made your heart race. Don't forget to subscribe for Chapter 3, because what's about to be revealed next will turn every suspicion upside down. The holding cell was cold. Samuel Brooks sat alone, his janitor uniform torn from the chaos, dried soot still clinging to his sleeves. His hands trembled slightly, but not from fear, from the ache of betrayal. He had saved a life, yet was treated like a criminal. Officer Harris paced outside the bars, glancing in with a smirk. You know, Brooks, people like you always have stories, always the hero in your own head. Samuel didn't respond. He'd heard that tone before, the tone that came from a man who'd already decided your worth. Meanwhile, upstairs in Carter Enterprises, William sat in his office, replaying every second of the explosion. The image of Samuel shouting, "Don't get in that car," haunted him. His assistant entered quietly, holding a report. "Sir, the bomb was planted under the chassis, timed, professionally done." William looked up sharply. "Any suspects?" She hesitated. "Well, the police think you're janitor." "No," he interrupted. "That man saved me." His voice cracked slightly, as if realizing it for the first time. At home, Victoria Carter poured herself a glass of wine, her reflection cold and beautiful in the window. Her phone buzzed, a private number. She answered softly, "You said it was done." The voice on the other end replied, "It was supposed to be." Her grip tightened. "Then why is he alive?" The voice went silent. Her hand shook for a second before she forced herself to breathe. "I told you to make it look like an accident," she whispered. She ended the call quickly, deleting the number again. For a moment, her calm mask cracked, showing guilt or maybe fear. Back at the station, William stormed in. "I want him released, now." Officer Harris frowned. "Sir, with respect, the investigation isn't—" "He's innocent," William said firmly. "You're wasting time while the real threat is still out there." Harris hesitated. Samuel looked up, surprise flickering in his tired eyes. For the first time, someone was standing for him. Not against him. William turned to Samuel, his voice softer. "You saw something I didn't. What did you notice?" Samuel took a breath. "Someone had access to your private parking code. That bomb wasn't meant for random chance. It was placed by someone who knew your car and your schedule." William froze. Only a few people knew that. His wife, his assistant, and his driver. Outside the window, rain started to fall again. Samuel looked out, his voice low. "Sometimes evil doesn't come from the shadows, sir. Sometimes it comes from the ones we trust the most." William didn't answer, but the color drained from his face as his mind connected the pieces. Victoria, the deleted messages, the distant eyes, the sudden life insurance talk last week. Every puzzle piece began to form an image too terrifying to deny. As the rain grew heavier, William stood still, no longer a billionaire thinking about power, but a husband realizing he might be sleeping beside a murderer. And Samuel, the janitor he once ignored, had just opened his eyes to the truth. Don't forget to subscribe and stay with us for Chapter 4, the shocking confrontation that will leave you breathless, as the truth finally explodes louder than any bomb. The night was silent, except for the rain tapping softly against the mansion windows. William Carter stood in his grand living room, the lights dim, his face pale with realization. The words of Samuel Brooks echoed in his mind, "Sometimes evil doesn't come from the shadows. Sometimes it comes from the ones we trust the most." He poured himself a drink, but his hand shook so violently that the glass slipped and shattered on the floor. A few moments later, the sound of heels approached from behind. Victoria Carter entered, wearing a silk robe, her expression unreadable. "You're up late," she said softly, her tone as smooth as ever. William turned to face her slowly, his eyes filled with something between pain and fury. "Why, Victoria, why would you do it?" She froze for just a heartbeat, then smiled faintly. "Do what, dear?" He took a step closer. "Don't lie to me. The police found the remote detonator in the garage, your fingerprints." Her eyes flickered, then hardened. "You were never supposed to be in that car, William. It was supposed to be the driver." The words hit him like ice water. "The driver? He's been with us for 15 years. "Yes," she whispered, "and he's been stealing from you, from us. He was planning to run away. I was trying to protect what's ours." Her voice shook slightly, but her eyes remained cold. "You think I'd let some man ruin everything we built?" William stepped back, his face full of disbelief. "You almost killed me, Victoria. You killed an innocent man, and you tried to cover it." The silence that followed was unbearable. She looked at him with tears that didn't quite seem real. "You don't understand. I did it for you." He turned away, shaking his head. "No, you did it for yourself." At that moment, the front door opened quietly. Officer Harris stepped in, followed by Samuel Brooks, still in his janitor uniform, soaked from the rain. Harris looked uncomfortable, his usual arrogance gone. "Sir, we traced the detonator's purchase records. She used one of your company's accounts." Victoria's face drained of color. Samuel looked at her not with anger but quiet sadness. "I tried to warn you, ma'am. I saw her meeting that man in the parking lot 2 weeks ago, but no one listens to a janitor." For the first time, William looked at Samuel with genuine respect. He nodded slowly. "You saved my life, Mr. Brooks." Samuel lowered his eyes. "Just did what was right, sir." The police moved forward to arrest Victoria. She didn't resist. Her eyes met William's one last time. "You'll regret this," she whispered coldly. As they led her away, lightning flashed outside, illuminating the shattered pieces of William's perfect world. Hours later, the rain stopped. William stood alone at the front door when Samuel walked out beside him. "You could have gone home," William said quietly. Samuel smiled faintly. "Home's just walls, sir. Peace is what I've been looking for." William nodded. "I think I've just started looking for it too." He reached into his pocket and handed Samuel a folded letter. "You're not working nights anymore. From tomorrow, you'll be head of maintenance. Double salary, you earned that." Samuel looked stunned. "Thank you, sir, but what I earned wasn't money, it was your respect." Dawn broke, the first light of day washed over the mansion, clearing away the night's darkness. The billionaire had learned humility. The janitor had found justice. And for once, both men stood equal beneath the morning sun. If this story moved you, comment your thoughts below and subscribe for more powerful stories about truth, courage, and redemption.